We're going to talk about FedNow. I know I'm making a lot of content on FedNow, but it's important. We got to understand what's going on, who's going to be using it, why is now the best time in your life to understand what's going on with digital assets. We're going to go through it right now, and I'm going to show you Finastra in this video and why they're such an important Ripple partner and how they are connected inside of FedNow, so people, banks, credit unions can use Finastra and their technology through Ripple to move value if they so choose to. Let's go ahead and get into it, guys. My name is Robert Doyle. I create crypto content for you. I try to explain everything in the best way as I can, giving you all the context that I can, and hopefully you are learning and growing on your crypto journey. If you need help in crypto, guys, find a good group of people that you can connect with and start building a wealth of knowledge, because this time right now, I say this a lot, but it's the most important time of your life. And I believe in you, and I know you can do this if you put a little bit of time in it. If you need help growing, there is a link to Crypto Nerds Discord in the description area, and I would be happy and honored to have you in my community learning along with me and everybody else. Without further ado, let's start the show. All right, I won't do that. All right, let's go. For Mr. Man, woo woo! FedNow will catalyze the industry. There are only 300 banks on this new RTP system. Let's go ahead and play this.
Point, we do have real-time payments, right, from the clearinghouse. So it's not that it's new here. FedNow, I think, will catalyze the industry, and I'll explain a little bit why. And of course, I'm slightly biased just because I worked at the Fed and I worked on FedNow before joining Forum 3. That being said, our RTP is doing well, and they kind of set a baseline.
RTP is real-time payments. It's a clearinghouse, okay?
And why banks have not joined that network, lots of theories out there. Honestly, it doesn't even matter at this point, right? It just, the reality is they've got about 300 banks, and we need way more than that to get to ubiquity and to drive a network, because you have a chicken and egg situation starting anything new, right? It only matters and only becomes important when everybody's on it. Nobody really wants to join it till it's important. So you do this dance, and we haven't seen RTP get past that 300 banks adoption number. So with FedNow, whether it's because it's a Federal Reserve system, so there are, lots of banks who have kind of shared that feedback that they really want to join a Federal Reserve, rail with central bank money and all of that. Or if it's because, like, my personal theory is, we have two rails for every other payment type. We have two high value systems. We have two ACH systems. So maybe it only feels real when there's two instant payment networks. Right now, it's like, okay, wait, this is real. This is going to be real infrastructure in the US. Either way, I do believe that we're going to see a larger adoption once FedNow goes live. So we've seen the announcements of who's kind of certified and who's going live. You see a lot of the banks who are already on RTP, especially those big banks who are senders. So that's a good sign, right? That they are already seeing this resilient need to be on both networks. And then you have lots of banks that are paying attention. And I do think still waiting. I think it's July, but they're just waiting for it to turn on and not kind of blow up. Once it turns on and we have banks join, I think many other banks will start that journey and start joining. And it is an opportune time. So if you haven't done RTP yet and you're just looking at this brand new, there's two opportunities right in front of you. The first is you can join both at the same time. And you can specifically look at solutions out there. Forum 3 is one of them that does this from that angle. Like it's one instant payment, right? At the end of the day, if I'm sending you money because we're sitting in a bar and having a drink, which is my favorite example, because when else?
Once they try it, it's going to be so good, baby. I'm hooked. I got to get more. I want that real-time payments network. I'm just kidding. All right, let's keep it going. All right, part 2. Let's go. Let's get it.
Close today. So I think as those businesses start shifting into, we want weekends, we want nights, we want to stop worrying about the wire cutoff time, then you're going to see more and more use cases move over. The bar example that I love, just because, like, honestly, when do you think about, like, splitting bills? That's really P2P, right? And so there is a bit more on that with, like, a directory and such that has to be built out in the ecosystem to make that really feasible. Obviously, we have Zelle. So there's that, concept of, like, is Zelle...
P2P is person to person, and B2B is business to business, if you didn't know. And SME is small to medium enterprises. Just trying to give you a little context.
Going to end up going over FedNow and RTP, but I do think we're going to slowly get there. So back to your original question with the logical kind of way we'll get there. Banks will join, and they will join as receive only first. The big banks will join to send also, but a lot of banks are going to start with receive only, which does help, because once you have all 9,000, 10,000 banks receiving these payments, then someone like the Treasury could potentially move tax refunds over, right? Or a
That's exactly
large
what's gonna
bank that
happen.
does payouts to across, the 9,000 other banks can move their use cases over. You've got the Venmo PayPal payouts. To your point, RTP already kind of set the stage. That does go over the RTP network, but only if the receiving bank is on the RTP network. And so it's got to kind of grow. That network effect has to happen. FedNow will go live. I believe we'll see lots of banks start joining, especially as receive only.
Yeah.
And as you see more and more banks going, we're going to see more and more use cases start to move over onto these rails. And then you'll just do that climb, right? Like more volume, more adoption, more volume, more adoption.
So what she's talking about there, guys, is once FedNow goes live, what's going to happen is smaller banks are going to dip their toes in, right? They're going to, is this water, nice or warm enough? Is it too cold? Is it too hot? They want to dip their toes in and get comfortable, right? And once they get comfortable, then becomes all the services built out on top of it, right? What can we offer our customers to make them happy? What are we going to build out to really take this to the next level? And that's what she's talking about, right? The big banks are going to be ready to go, right? The big banks are on the sidelines like, I got to use FedNow. Let me get some of the FedNow. I want it so bad, right? They're like that, right? They want to save money, right? They want to save money. They want to be able to add the value to the customers, and the smaller banks are going to be not far behind. FedNow is anticipated to reach 100% of credit unions versus 61% for RTP, which is a huge deal, right? Credit unions will use FedNow. In addition to existing rails, FedNow service features will help participating credit unions conduct investigations and provide return funds connected to fraud or errors, which is important. FedNow LMT liquidity management tool will allow participants to transfer funds between accounts at the reserve banks to meet the liquidity needs associated with instant payments, while the central bank will initially price FedNow at parity with RTP at 4.5 cents per payment. So it's 4.5 cents per payment. What are they using? 4.5 cents per payment. They're not using Visa. They're not using MasterCard. They're using blank, right? I mean, what else could they be using at 4.5 cents? Okay. The initial launch will provide full functionality and help credit unions manage the transactions. Anticipated to reach 100% of credit unions and banks, right? Interesting. And then introducing FedNow. So FedNow go live date is July 20th. All right. We've seen July 1st. We've seen July, 5th, and we've seen July 20th. It's happening in July, guys. We don't, hopefully they keep up this date. But what's interesting is 10,000 financial institutions, right? There's about 4,200 banks in the United States. And so some of these are, bigger institutions. Maybe they're, Charles Schwab and some of these other ones that, for securities clearings and stocks and stuff like that. Service providers, Finastra and Volante, ACI, etc. for FedNow needs to be in compliance with Operating Circular 8, which establishes the following procedures and technical specifications, right? Excuse me one second. It says, in order to participate in FedNow, financial institutions and service providers will need to be compliance with Operating Circular number 8, which establishes the acceptable operating procedures and technical specifications required to implement FedNow services, right? And then you also have this video coming out right now. It says Kristen Robertson from Ripple, partner Finastra, July 20th is the match.
Awesome here with CU Broadcast. Welcome back to our show. And on today's program, we have Kristen Robertson from the fine organization called Finastra. Kristen, how are you today? Good to see you.
I'm doing just fine, Mike. Nice to see you as well.
Yay. Well, today we're talking about a super fascinating topic that I'm going to be all transparent here, that I just found out about. My gosh, I'm in the financial services industry. Why did I not know this? But
this guy is in the financial services industry and he's clueless, okay? That is why you watch this channel, because you know more than people in their own industry about what's going on, because you watch this channel, right? This is value for you, right? You understand what's going on before people in the industry know what's going on. That is why you come to this channel, and I appreciate and I love you, and I respond to all your comments.
Anyway, I digress on that. The Federal Reserve's new payments rail called FedNow, which is going to be starting up, I think in July. Is that correct, Kristen? Somewhere
July 20th.
All right. So they're just kind of BS for that, but here's the clip.
In fact, it is the first time in over 40 years that the Federal Reserve has launched a brand new payment type in the U.S. market.
Great.
And you may say, if you recall the clearinghouse, they did come out with their own instant payment rail in 2017, but they're not part of the Federal Reserve Bank. They're a private network consortium of banks that own the clearinghouse. So I'm not really counting them, but they did obviously get first to market with an instant payment scheme in in the US, but it wasn't part of the central banking system.
Okay.
And because of that, frankly, shortly thereafter in 2017, 2019, that's when the Federal Reserve made the announcement that they were developing their own instant payment scheme.
Okay.
So frankly, I think a lot of credit unions and smaller community banks said, we're going to pump the brakes because we know the Federal Reserve Bank, we have a master account with them. If they're coming out with their own instant payment scheme, we're going to wait and see what that looks like before we decide what our overall strategy is. Mm-hmm. So it's super exciting to be a part of it. And basically, instant payments means exactly what it is. Within seconds, you have finality of payment and you're able to move money from individuals to individuals or even business to business.
Finality, you say? Oh, do tell me more.
Or, business to individuals, individuals to business. It can go just about any which way you'd like.
Any which way you like. We got what you need, baby. We got what you need. And then check this out. FedNow is built to upgrade FedWire. I've seen a couple comments in my comments talking about, FedWire and FedNow and how, this is not connected. It's 100% connected. Check this out. FedNow, by contrast, is built to make service upgradable without needing to shut down. To sum it up, FedNow is a new interbank real-time gross settlement payment system that will support instant clearing and settling for retail transactions. Individuals will not have access to FedNow directly, but instead will have access to the instant payment services offered by the financial institutions. FedNow will allow participating institutions to transfer funds between customers and provide immediate availability without incurring credit exposure, right? And then here, why is Finastra a big deal? That's a great question. Thank you for asking that. All right, it's time to modernize your cross-border payments. This is a little bit older of a document, but let's take a look here. So the state of cross-border payments, the value of cross-border payments, 250 trillion by 2027. I bet you it's going to be higher than that. Growth 5%. And then look at the Finastra. Case in point, Thunes modernizes cross-border payments, 130 plus countries, 79 currencies, 4 billion bank accounts. Damn! 210 cash pickup locations, 300 payment methods, 10x more cost-effective transactions. And this is why banks are losing ground to cross-border payments and cost of international payments. Average customer fee, 6.5%. When you use something like XRP, right, that can save you billions globally, maybe trillions. We're going to get into the thing where we're going to be saving trillions of dollars one day here very soon. Average cost to banks, $27, right? And then total bank transaction costs 120 billion annually in FX, right? This is going to grow substantially. And 90% of bank costs for managing counterparty and banking risk. Fintech technology reduces up to 95% of payment costs, guys. This is the future, and this is why we talk about it, right? And then check this out. Takes time to receive cross-border payments. Banks and businesses, up to 30 days, right? You need that money, right? If you have bills or whatever, you're trying to buy a company, you're trying to do something, 30 days is forever. Let's get that money there now. Consumers can take up to 10 days, right? If you ever had a family member or a friend call you in the need of money, in 2021, I was making a ton of money. So I got all these phone calls from people that I haven't heard from a long time and saying, hey man, I could use a little bit of money and assistance. So I helped out some old friends, but it's amazing when your phone rings when you're making money, right? Fintechs, up to 2 days. 75% of consumers would make international transfers more often if the processing was faster. And then you have lack of transparency hinders business and growth. 33% reconciling payment invoices takes too much time. 61% investigating rejected payments and drains resources. Understand this, guys, that up to 5% of payments never make it to their destination. All right. The correspondent banking system is dog shit. Excuse my French. It's an old system. It's outdated. That's why we're going with the new and sexy real-time payments section. But I just wanted to show you some of this, guys. I mean, this is really important to kind of understand and know what we're getting into here in life and why this is so important and why you watch this channel. And it means the world to me. Like I said, guys, all of the comments that you guys leave, it really does move me. So thank you so much for all of your support. We just passed 9,000 subscribers and I can't do it without you. So thank you so much. If you found value, guys, feel free to share with somebody you know. Leave a comment. I get back to you and feel free to like the video. I'll see you next time, guys. Bye.